welcome to You Didn't Get the Memo Show. I'm your host, Gloria Bailey Ray. As always, we have an exciting show for you today, and I'm extremely excited to be able to sit and talk with a really good friend of mine and learn some more about him and what he does, but also to help you guys be informed and understand who he is and what he does. But before we do that, first of all, again, let me welcome you and thank you so much for tuning in. Um, the You Didn't Get the Memo show is really and truly about providing you, the viewer, with relevant fact-based information to help you be informed and to make informed decisions. My show today is being brought to you by Crispy and one of our sponsors. We are airing live on Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. Now, our show is interactive, so if you have questions or comments, you can place them in the comment section, and we'll do our very best to respond and get to them. I always like to give a quick shout out to all my viewers. I don't take any of this for granted. And so for all of you that are tuned in nationally and internationally, I want to welcome you to the show and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, my guest today, as I said, is Mr. Gerry Dove, and he refers to himself more or less as a concierge of the community. He'll explain what that means a little bit later on. But we're talking to Mr. Gerry Dove, and we're going to be talking about all the things that his company, Purple Cherry Production, does as relates to talent booking, artist management, event planning, so on and so forth. But it's going to be a great show, y'all. And I just tell you, I can't wait to delve in. So let me first of all welcome Mr. Gerry Dove. Gerry, thank you so much for being here and being on the show, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure. May I say that your opening theme song, that's kind of bouncy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
We need a 12-inch of that one. That sounds good.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so very much. Thank you very much. But welcome. I'm excited to be able to have the opportunity to sit down and to talk with you. I think a lot of times people, maybe tune in and are not for sure. And I always want to remind people that You Didn't Get the Memo show. We have an eclectic group of guests. And we kind of cover the entire, gamut from entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, you name it, we do it. But it's always about providing information. Today, though, I was just moved to be able to have you on the show and to talk about what it is that you do, because you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you got some stuff going on. And I really want us to delve into and talk about this show that you got online, IRTS. We've got to be able to talk about it. So with that being said, let's just start with, you know what, Gerry? Tell us your backstory. Tell us a little bit about who Gerry Dove is.
Well, I will be happy to do that. Let me first apologize for my dog's timing with his barking and carrying on. Looks like Amazon had the nerve to come past my house, and he hates that. So, well, look, I'm a military brat, the middle son of Arthur and Gladys Dove, lived all over the country, lived in the Philippines, settled in a little town called Atwater, which is in the San Joaquin Valley, about 2 hours away from the Bay Area. Love sports, love music, love clothes, and I love helping out in the community. That's basically what I'm all about.
All right. Well, it's a little bit more than that, but I'm going to let you get away with that for right now. Okay.
I thought okay. I'm going to answer any question you ask me.
Because
I don't know about volunteering or anything.
You know what? A lot of people who may know Gerry Dove, but they don't know the Gerry Dove. So I want to start with the fact that you've been in radio for many years. So let's start with that. How did you even get into it? You talk about you travel around and you're a military brat, but how did all of this come about? How did you even get into radio? And y'all, we're going to progress down, but I'm going to make him give us some history and some background because he's playing it down. But Gerry Dove, the man. Okay.
Okay. Well, here we go.
How
When
did
I
you
was
get
in
that radio?
when I was in high school, I was like most of the guys. I ran track, played basketball, hung out with the fellas my freshman and sophomore year. When I got to my junior year, I realized I'm 5'9". I weigh about 130 pounds. I ain't going pro on nothing. As much as I like sports, it's time to look for something else that's realistic. So we had a career day, and this one of the people that came by to speak to us was a disc jockey. Now this is not like now. So back in those days, they called him a disc jockey. So they played music on the radio, and I was of music, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if I can't be a sports player, maybe I can be a sports announcer, or I could do the music. So the guy was telling me that there's a junior college that was in Merced, which was 7 miles away, that had a great television and radio communications program. So I decided, okay, that's going to be my major. So I knew that in my junior year. My senior year, I was also the president of the high school BSU. So I started to see what my leadership qualities were all about. And I just really started getting connected to the community. So by the time I got out of high school, I kind of felt like I had my path. Went to junior college. I quickly realized that TV was cool, but I think I wanted to do the radio thing. So did that for a couple of years. Was getting ready to transfer to San Jose State, but I got a job as a DJ at a station in the valley there, and on KLBS radio out of Los Banos, California, a little town there. So I would drive there every Sunday and do the KLBS Soul Train on Sundays from like noon to 5 p.m. or something like that. Then I would drive back to Atwater, and I was like the talk of the town. I mean, 15,000 people lived in the town, but it was a cool thing to be doing, and I loved it. I did it for a couple of years, and decided, okay, that I want to make some more money. So I went off into retail and started working in retail. There was a guy that was my manager. I used to work at Thrifty Drugstore, which is now Rite Aid.
Hmm.
His name was Roger Beckers. He was a 6'4" guy from Texas. And he used to call me Mr. Dove. Why are you messing around with this disc jockey thing? You should be in management, you know? So I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I've been manager of sorts. Do you ever want to move out of your mom and daddy's house? I said, well, of course I do. And so he offered me a job as his assistant manager for
Mm.
$768 a month. And I remember that number exactly because it was a big number back in those days. So I took that job, moved out of my parents' house, got me a little apartment in Atwater. First of all my boys that had an apartment, and was living a good life. And so for 20 years, I was in retail and restaurant management, and I sold insurance, and just I realized I hated all those jobs. I was good at them, made a lot of money, but I hated them. And
Mm.
so in the 20th year, when I turned 40, uh, three things happened all in the same month that were
Wow.
pretty critical. I think that any one of the things would stop you dead in your tracks. Um, a house that my wife and I were renting, they decided they wanted to sell it. Didn't want it, couldn't afford it anyway, because I got fired from my job. At that time, I forget where I was working at the time, but I got fired from the job. And most importantly, my father passed away from a heart attack, all within 30 days. Any one of those things would stop you dead in your tracks. I sat down, I said, God, what is it you're trying to tell me? And that's when I came up with this idea about, and there are things in life that you have to do, things in life you want to do, and things in life you're supposed to do, Gloria. And I really believe that everybody should
Yeah,
find out what it is they're supposed to be doing.
I
And
do.
so I took a sheet of paper, and I still have it. I wish I brought it out for you, and I wrote on a paper what I want out of my next career, what I don't want out of my next career.
Mm,
And I
mm,
wrote down every little thing that I wanted. I wanted to work in San Francisco. I wanted to work in a tall building. I wanted a business card with my name on it, not just as manager. I wanted, to be able to close my door and go home and then come back the next day and everything is right where I left it. That
mhm.
kind of just every little thing I could think of, plus the big things that I really wanted. I wanted to work around adults. I was working in retail, was primarily helping raise other people's children. Whether they're the
Say
customer
that
or my
again.
employee, whether they're my employee or my customer, I was
Right,
raising other people's children.
right.
And I was tired of that. I wanted to work around adults. Not that a 40-year-old is any more mature than an 18-year-old, but at least I wanted to give it a shot.
Yeah,
So
but I think life experiences, Jerry, and then you know what? Just listen to you tell that piece of your life story. Several things stuck out for me. First of all, number one is you learned what you didn't want,
right.
and you were key, and you called in what you did want.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece of that is the resilience. And so, for people who are tuned in today, and why I said there's more to you than meets the eye, because see, a lot of people just think that you make these giant leaps, you get
Yeah.
here from here to here, and there's no in between, but they don't know what that in between piece of it was. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people would crumble under the fact of losing a parent and losing a home, losing a job, all of these things together. But the word that comes to mind is resilience. And so from that, you just made up your mind. You got to do what you want to do. And I just want people to know, hey, look, it's out there for you. You just have to decide what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out, and you kind of actually bled over into me talking about your journey, how you got to where you are today. Because you talk about Atwater, y'all, and if y'all look that up on the map, I don't even know if
It's
if
on the map. You stop that. It's on the map. We got two X's off the freeway. We saw
okay,
it.
all right. I'm like, okay, it's
Used to
a
be an Air Force
pinpoint
base down
there.
there. That's how we ended up in Atwater, but it's
Right.
long
But
gone.
here's the thing. What people don't know is that you worked not only in Atwater, but then let's fast forward, because you were at Intercom Radio in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
Clear Channel. These
Mm-hmm.
are companies that people know. 98.1 Kiss FM,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then KBLX, the infamous KBLX. And
Yeah.
so, in that journey to get to where you are today, I know it's a lot, but Reader's Digest version, you left Atwater and you ended up in San Francisco. Is that kind of how it all
Well,
unfolded?
a couple more stages in there. I moved from Atwater while I was working for Thrifties. I got a chance to move to the big city of Fresno. Wow.
Okay.
So and like I said, there was 15,000 people in Atwater. I think at that time there might have been 80,000 people in Fresno. It was an
Right.
hour away, straight down 99. And so I'm like, I moved to Fresno. I didn't know one soul in the whole
Mm,
city. And I
mm.
thought that was cool because again, I got a chance to kind of reinvent myself. I wasn't just hanging around with people who've known me since the eighth grade.
Yes.
I
Yes.
had I grew up. I was taking care of myself again. Got a place down and out in Fresno. Stayed there for 5 years. I liked Fresno the first 3 years I lived there. It was back during the disco days. There were lots of clubs to go to, and I
Right.
was a single and having a good time. But them last 2 years, that 108 degree heat and that Thule fog in the winter, I'm like, I got to get out of here, you
Yeah.
know. So I got a chance. I was working at that time, Gloria, believe this, for Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Stop.
I was a manager wearing those brown double knit suits with the paper hats on
Yes,
it.
I remember.
Living in Fresno, I hated my life. God, what did I do to get to this point, man? I'm wearing a paper hats, come home smelling like chicken. You know, I got to get out of Fresno. So I saw an ad in a paper for come to beautiful Monterey to work in the restaurant
Mm,
industry. So I sent a resume there, and they called me back. And it turned out it was a different franchise owner of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if I got to work for the Colonel, I'd rather do it in Monterey than in Fresno. So I moved from Fresno, where there's 108 degrees, to Monterey, where it's like 65 degrees.
mm-hmm.
But I loved it. Military town up there as well, Army base.
Yes.
I
Yes.
lived there for 5 years. Met my wife there, who's from Monterey. Got married in Monterey and moved to the Bay Area and started working for Mervyn's. See, everywhere I worked, it doesn't exist anymore. But working for Mervyn's at that time, and moved up to the Bay Area then.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in the Bay Area, worked in retail. Like I said, I was probably another 10 years and doing all the things I spoke of before. And
Right.
then when I turned 40 is when I got into radio, because I figured out I had to do what I needed, what I was supposed to be doing. And the list I was talking about, it led me to one thing that I understood is that the things I loved the most was working in with clothes, sports, and music. So now I've been working in clothes because like I said, I was in Mervyn's and Miller's Outpost, these kind of places. I didn't want to do that anymore. Now I'm 5'9", about 160 pounds, but I'm 40 years old, so I still can't go pro on anything. So I said, let's get back to the music thing. So I was working living in Fremont. They had another junior college, Ohlone College, which has a great radio program there. So I went to Ohlone College, got back on the radio, got my chops together. We'd moved in with my brother in his little apartment and just trying to, get over the grief of losing our father. And I decided, okay, I'm going back into radio. And so I was 40 years old, uh, taking classes at Ohlone College because everything was new. Nobody's playing albums anymore. They're playing, at that point, they're playing CDs, and just figured out how to do the radio thing again. I applied for a job in Stockton at a station called KWIN, got hired there. A couple of months after that, I applied for KISS FM, which is only a few months old at that time, got hired there. So within 5 months, I'm working for 3 different radio stations. Ohlone College, which played pop music, KWIN, which played hip hop, and KISS FM, which played oldies. And I'm like, I am living my best life. I wasn't making $768 between the 3 of them, but I knew I was headed in the right direction again. And
Right, right.
and so that's how I got back.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't hear you say I'm chasing the money. You know
No.
what? I'm chasing my dream. And
Yeah.
that's a different when you're chasing a dream, your
Mhm.
passion, the money will all flow. It will fall into place. Another nugget, you guys, because a lot of times people say, I'm taking this job because it does this. But at the end of the day, who are you? Are you really living up to be your true authentic self? And that's a really, really big piece for me is being true to who you are. You may have started out one way, right? However, you are now doing where you are wanted to do and you're where you wanted to be. So look, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about and intertwine. We're going to talk about some of the fun memories of KBLX because that's actually where I met you years ago
Mhm.
at KBLX and your role there. But we're going to talk also about some of the obstacles that you have had to overcome in your radio broadcasting career because there are other people out there, young people that are looking to get into this. And there's a lot to be said about what needs to happen. And
Mhm.
so when we come back, you guys don't go anywhere. I'm talking with my awesome guest, the concierge of the community, Mr. Gerry Dove. We will be right back. And thank you guys so much for hanging in here. I appreciate you.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
That's funky, Gloria. Come
Oh,
on,
all
Gloria.
right.
That's funky.
Okay, thank you.
Who did that? Who did that for you? If I may ask,
I did.
you made that music?
I sure did.
Get out of here.
One of the things that you're talking about is how we have to reinvent ourselves and the things that
Hmm.
we do. And when I came out of Coffee TV studio and
Hmm.
all of that, one of the things that I had to do with the pandemic is learn how to do a lot of things that I've been paying other people for. Now, I'm
Hmm.
not perfect, but
Oh,
guess what?
well,
I'm
that was
working on
funky.
continuing
That
to
was
become a
funky.
master
Oh
of it.
man.
And that's literally what it is and what we're talking about,
Yeah.
which leads me back to before we talk about how you and I got into, and we were both had shows on Coffee TV,
Hmm.
but I ask you as it relates to your radio broadcasting career, talk about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in radio broadcasting. Because let me just say this, I'll make this disclaimer. You know what? One of the things is I still think that there's still not enough of Black and brown men and women in
Hmm.
the industry, and there needs to be more. But at the same time, if you're into it, you need to also understand you need to represent, meaning show up. be present, know who you are authentically and what you will stand for and what you won't stand for, those kinds of things. So I'll shut up at this point, but let's just kick it back over and talk about, obstacles that you've had to
Well,
overcome.
let me talk about how I got from Ohlone College and being a board op at Kiss FM. So
Okay.
uh, that was like in 1998. And like I said, I was happy. I was happy. It's back in radio, having a great time. The only bad thing about it was my father had passed away a few months earlier, and he didn't get a chance to see me doing this again. So I got a chance to work. Like I said, I was driving out to Stockton and doing shows overnights, playing hip hop music, R&B music. I'm an R&B guy, though. I'm an old school guy. I'm a 70s kid, so that kind of thing. So when Kiss FM came along, Michael Erickson, who was a legend at that time, bless his heart, rest in peace. My friend Renelle, who is a really good friend of mine at this point, her husband is from Atwater, and we've known each other since about the 9th grade. And so I got a chance to apply for a job at Kiss FM doing what they call a board op position, meaning that you did everything but talk. You got to play the songs, you got to play the commercials, you got to edit any kind of responses from listeners and the callers and play that, but you didn't talk. And they call that a board op. That's kind of like an entry-level position to that kind of thing. I'm doing that overnight, having a great time. And I remember I was in San Francisco. I was in a tall building. I remember the first time, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's in the whole building but me. I'm playing The Way You Do the Things You Do by the Temptations. And I could feel this whoosh behind me, and I'm looking around like there's nobody else supposed to be in the building. And so 2 nights later, I'm playing the same song, The Way You Do the Things You Do by the Temptations. And the whoosh again, I just said to myself, that's my father. My father loved that song. He's
Right.
letting me know he's in there dancing with me. He's happy for me. And I was off and running from there, So what would happen is that I would come into Kiss FM in the daytime because I'm still going to Ohlone College and taking classes and doing their shows, still driving to Stockton. So I'm juggling these 3 different stations and stuff, but I really knew I wanted to end up in San Francisco. So I would come in during the daytime and just be an intern. I'm a 40-year-old intern. And whatever you want me to do, staple papers, make copies, whatever you want to do. And so there you go. To answer your question is, what is the first stumbling block or barrier? I had to make them understand that even though I'm 40, I'm not an old 40. I'm a young 40. And for that matter, I know more about this music than you did. I played that music. You learned about the music. You read on the music. I played the music when it was out on KLBS. And so Michael Erickson, who, I love to death and I appreciate him for giving me a chance. When he was interviewing me, he was very, very careful. He says, well, I'm concerned that you would have the right energy level. I said, are you trying to tell me I'm old? I would work every one of these kids right under the ground. and he laughed and I laughed because, Michael wanted me there because, because we're about the same age and we both knew the music and he needed that. So I got in there and started working and doing a couple of events for promotions here and there. My managerial experience kind of showed really quickly. So now, all those years at Thrifty's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and all that kind of stuff kind of paid off because I realized really quickly that there's a lot of people in radio and TV and in film that can't think 2 hours ahead.
Right.
They're not organized. They're creative. They're not organized people. So another thing you touched on earlier, and I'll touch on this again a little bit later, is that I realized really quickly is that they need people they can rely on. So many people want to go into the entertainment industry because they want to meet this star or meet that star or be backstage of this event. And they don't understand you get to do the work, you got to pay your dues, and you work your way to that. You don't just come in trying to be that person. And so I was just happy to be there. People ask me all the time, were you ever nervous meeting some of these celebrities? I said, you know what? I did this when I was 20. It took me 20 years to get back. I was happy to be there. I'm like, how you doing? Lionel Richie, how you doing, man?
Right.
So,
and the truth be told, they put their pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're more mature, you don't get caught up in that, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, oh, it's Lionel. Oh my goodness. It doesn't matter. And to Michael Erickson that you're talking about, him and along with countless other managers and CEOs right now who may be watching this, you need to understand, like you said, I tell people all the time, I'm the new 45. Don't judge me by looking at my date of birth,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody has the same, what I call hutzpah. They don't have to get up and go. They don't
Right.
understand how to talk to people and do those things. And a lot of times people are counted out, and especially in today's society, oh, we look at your age, oh, you're too old. And you need some maturity, you need some structure, you need somebody who can think outside of the box at the same time, be able to juggle. As they say, I can fry that bacon up in a pan, serve it, and wash the
That's
pan and
right.
get on with what I need to do. So I'm happy to hear you, you say that, and that he at least saw that in you and say,
Mhm.
okay, I need somebody I can rely on. And that is really, really key right there,
Yeah,
Gerry.
I
That's
and I
key.
really appreciate that about him and the other people I worked with at Kiss FM. And so that was part of at that time they were called Clear Channel, and now
Hmm.
it's iHeart. So there were 10 different stations in
Wow.
San Francisco. And so now you're working in this building with probably 250 people. There's talent all over the place. There's KBLX, there's KMEL, the KKSF was out at the time, Smooth Jazz,
Right.
Wild 94.9. There's all these different stations, and on any given day there was somebody coming in the building. It was an amazing time. I still have a lot of great friends from those days, and so
Hmm.
um, worked talking about meeting people and just having a lot of fun. And there's maybe two people that I've met in all my years that did make me kind of like, ooh, one of them was James Brown
Ooh.
because he's James Brown, so.
Right. He
Uh,
was Mr. JB.
I mean, I've been blessed, been very fortunate to meet a lot of celebrities. TV, met John Travolta. John Travolta's got the biggest head and the bluest eyes I've ever seen in my life. And I'm saying, oh, well, that's pretty cool. But to meet James Brown, who was my hero as a kid growing up, soul power, get up, get into it, get involved, super bad, all that kind of stuff. And he's wearing an electric blue jumpsuit at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in our radio station. And he talking to me like, yo, my soul brother, don't go nowhere. Don't go. I'm like, man, I'm just on promotions. I just brought you up to, no, don't leave. And so he made me stay in the studio with him and our DJ, Morris Knight, who was interviewing him at the time. So, and I just sitting there was looking at him and said, wow, he just sounds like one of your uncles from the barbecue.
Right.
So but that's James Brown,
Right.
man. And the other person who may surprise you, I don't know if you remember a TV show called The Dating Game back
Yes,
in the
of
city.
course.
A gentleman named Jim Lang was the
Yeah.
host of The Dating Game.
Right.
Now again, I'm a young kid at the time, but I used to watch The Dating Game. I used to watch Johnny Carson. I used to love how smooth these guys were. They had a suit and a tie on, and Jim was like,
Hmm.
and here we are, and
Hmm.
just they were flirty and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I want to be like that. Something in my head as a 11-year-old said, I want to be like that. And so I used to love Jim Lang. And so he started as a DJ though. So he did all his TV
Mm.
thing, but he came back into radio. And we had a station at that time. It was playing oldies music from the 50s and 60s. And so he was a DJ. And I remember I came into the building, like, oh my God, Jim Lang works here. And so, Gloria, there was one time um, when I was in charge of their station and promotions, and we had an event down at Fisherman's Wharf in San
Hmm.
Francisco, and
Hmm.
it was him and a guy named Lon Simmons, who used to be an announcer for the San Francisco Giants.
Right.
Again, I love sports, and so I walked into the restaurant. It's one of those live remotes, and Jim Lang looks up and says, "Hey, here comes the boss." And I'm turning around like, so I had to go back somewhere and call my mom. Said, "Mom, Jim Lang just called me the boss." Can you believe that? I had to compose myself. And the other thing I remember about Jim is that went into the restroom, men's restroom at the station, and Jim was in there at the stall. I turned around and went the other way. I'm sorry, Gloria, if that's a little bit much, but I said, I cannot go into the bathroom, stand next to Jim Lang. I can't do it. So I went up to the 5th floor.
Stop.
But I just, there was the two people that I met that just really made me like, wow.
Yeah. And one of the
I,
best concerts ever to this day ever was I saw James Brown in concert in Reno, Nevada.
mm,
And it was probably, on the downside of what's happened to him. He put on a concert that would rival any. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd
Hmm.
never seen
Hmm.
anything like it.
Yeah.
And even though growing up in the South, you hear about James Brown. Oh, good God,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't want
Hmm.
nobody to give me nothing. But
Open
but
up
at
the
the
door
same time, to
myself.
see
Yeah.
him playing
Hmm.
instruments, he was still dancing. He would.
Hmm.
I was so blown away. And what really blew me away was the audience was like 90% white.
Oh yeah.
And
College, probably a lot of college kids too.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And they
Yeah.
were partying. And look, I was right up in there jamming with them. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my
Hmm.
goodness. It was one of the best concerts I had ever been to in my life.
Hmm.
So, shout out to JB because he was the man.
Yeah. He
Absolutely
was.
the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But let's fast forward for a moment. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
So when you talk about influences, you talked about your career, you talk about all the things that you've done. But throughout this, there had to be a number of people who have been influencers in your life, in your career. And I just watched the IRTS show with
Hmm.
renowned Renell. If anybody hasn't seen that, we got to get that link so people can tune in.
Hmm.
But let's just talk about who some of those influencers were for you.
Well, I'll always talk about my mom and my dad, Arthur
Of
Dove and
course.
Gladys Dove from Meridian, Mississippi. They raised three of us. I got an older sister, Glennis. I'm the middle child, and I got a younger brother, Michael. And we all know how to act to this day. And we all, I think, are taught to help out in the community and look out for other people. So I'll always give love to my mom and dad. Um, as far as mentors and anything like that, I did mention Roger Beckers from my Thrifties days. He really definitely took me under his wing. But I honestly, I've had a lot of people have been very good to me, obviously over the careers and things like that. But I think for whatever reason, there was a whole lot more of, well, Jerry will figure it out. They didn't really need to help me, as much as I would have liked people to help me,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I think that if I had more help, or,
Right.
or one or two people taking me under their wing, I might have gotten a little further than I did in some of these careers that I was fortunate to have. But
Yeah.
um, I found that I was probably more other people's mentor than people mentored me. And
Mm.
again, that's not to say that people didn't help me and didn't encourage me, because they did and they still do to this day. But I remember I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and I was saying the same thing, and I probably was coming off a little whiny, like I might be now. But I was telling them, and they were saying, well, you don't need no help. I said, well, what you need to do is just tell me that you're doing this and do. I said, look, even while I'm trying to tell you that I need mentors, I'm mentoring you. I'm mentoring you on how to mentor
Mhm.
me. So just I think in another life I must have been a teacher or something like that. I
Yeah,
just
but that's real, Jerry. That's really real. And let me just earmark that, because a lot of times people look at you and the way you carry yourself. And you talked about being raised in the South, like you said. Your mom and daddy weren't gonna have you acting, as they say, acting a fool and doing
Mhm.
anything other than what was correct. So that's the thing. But it's interesting how a lot of people, I get that a lot. People don't think you don't need mentors. What do you need mentors for? I didn't think
Mhm.
you needed that. And I just want to say to all of y'all listening, you need to stop that. Yeah, I mean, let's just stop. It's enough for everybody, but everybody needs a mentor. I'm a certified life coach, but even coaches need coaches, right? And
Mhm.
so as a result of that, let's really and truly reach down and help one another. Don't just assume that we don't need it. Because look, I'm grown enough and old enough to say, you know what, I got this one, but here's what I could use your assistance on. But don't just assume that. And we tend to see that a lot. People just call up, oh, can I get your help? I want your opinion on this. And I'm thinking, how about my opinion about what it is that I
Mhm.
need? And that's really real. And I appreciate you,
Well,
being
if I can
transparent
if I can
about
add
that.
one more thing too, I think
Sure.
that again, people need to understand that giving their advice on something or giving their
Hmm.
input on something is totally different than mentoring. So
Right.
just because that whole, I'm just being honest, I think that white shirt with the blue that jacket that you wore, that was the wrong thing, just being honest. But just because you're being honest doesn't mean you're telling the truth. you know, and that is not mentoring. That's just your opinion.
Right.
So, and I
Right.
think that maybe all people aren't cut out to do that. Maybe all people don't know how to
Hmm. Hmm.
approach me or approach you or approach other people about it. But And then I've had people say, I want you to be my mentor. I said, well, it doesn't always work like that, because first we have to
Right.
establish a relationship and make sure that we, that I am able to say things to you and you're able to talk to me, and then
Mhm.
it kind of goes from there. So, but I think mentors are important, especially nowadays, because
Mhm.
life is moving so fast. You need somebody to pull you back in and take you
Absolutely.
under their wing and teach you and show
Yeah.
you. And I would love to have a mentor in social media, by the way. And I'll take you if you're 16 years old. I don't care. You can be my mentor for social media.
Okay, so both of us, I'll share if I find one and you share. Okay,
That's
let's
right.
do
That's
that.
right.
All right.
That's right.
So you know what, Jerry, this leads us into us talking about the debut of I Remember That Song show on Coffee
Well, hold on.
TV.
Do you want
Mhm.
me to get to KBLX first, really
Oh,
quickly?
oh, okay. Hit. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
go.
because I'm
Tell me
still at
about
KISS now,
KBLX.
right? I'm still at
Yeah.
KISS. So I'm at Clear Channel. I'm now the assistant promotion director for KISS FM.
Okay.
I'm the community affairs director for all 10 of their stations, because now
That's right.
they recognize, again, I'm a grown up and I love the community. And that's when I started doing all that kind of thing. And that meant a lot. It's just a lot of
Mm,
paperwork, FCC guidelines and stuff that would bore you to death. But it also meant representing the stations and the building at
right.
different events. I started to go to every little chicken dinner and meet and greet, and got to know so many different people around the Bay Area. They're doing some fantastic things, and that was an honor and a thrill. And I love that probably more than being the assistant promotion director at KISS FM. So, worked there for 12 years at Clear Channel. Got laid off a couple of weeks before Christmas. That's what happens in radio.
Yeah.
Anybody out there that's
Yeah.
been in radio, if you haven't been laid off or fired from a job, you haven't been there long enough, so it's going to happen. So I was out of radio for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Started my first entrepreneurial thing, G Dove Designs, where I did T-shirts, and my motto at the time, and still is make peace and move forward. So
Yes.
what I
Yes.
do is I make a decision, make peace with it, and move forward. And so I put it on a T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and I say, okay, this is gonna be the next big thing for the world. And I did it for like a year and a half, and had fun with it. But it was stalling, because T-shirt business is kind of a hit and miss. You may have a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
that minute can go away. And so got a chance to work at KBLX.
Right.
And so I got hired to work over there as, again, similar to what I was doing, assistant promotion director, community affairs director. They had 5 channels or 5 stations. I worked at for community affairs director for all 5 of them, and I went to KBLX. That was totally different than working at Clear Channel, which is now iHeart, because there was really only a couple of stations in there, and KBLX is like this institution in the Bay Area for Black radio and Black music.
Mm-hmm.
We had Steve Harvey there, and so they had taken out Kevin Brown, who was part of the morning show, new owners, and they brought in their own people and this and that. And so spent a lot of time trying to explain why Steve Harvey was doing it, not Kevin Brown. So I had nothing to do with that, So
Right.
so that
Right.
kind of thing. But I had a great time at BLX for a long time, because everybody that was every Black person that came through town that was doing the show came through KBLX,
Right. Right.
and
And
that
that's
made me
where
feel
I met
good.
you. I
Yeah,
met you.
yeah,
Yeah, you were the community affairs
yeah.
director at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's actually where I met you. And I mean, wow, talk about your lives coming full circle.
Mhm.
That's crazy. But you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. And I've often wondered what all of that. And how people get upset. Some people are left, and I know Kevin Brown. People were really upset. Kevin
Mhm.
Brown and that men don't carry that woman's purse. People always remember that.
Mhm.
And Steve Harvey, that whole piece. But
Yeah.
anytime there's change in management, you got to read the tea leaves. You got to
Yeah.
know what's happening. You got to keep your ears to the ground. And always, like you said, you going around, you kissing all the babies, going to every fried chicken joint, whatever
Mhm.
it is, to keep your name out there. And that's what happened. But your career ended at KBLX.
I got laid off on my birthday
Oh, wow.
in 2018.
Oh,
So
wow.
you may ask, well, why would they do that? Well, they probably didn't know, but it wouldn't have
Right.
mattered anyway, because that's corporations and that's radio.
Hmm.
So I was 19 years in radio between my days in Los Banos and at KISS FM and KBLX. I was trying to get to 20, but again, got to about 19 and a half. I said, okay, well, God, what's the next thing? What are we going to do?
Right,
So I
right.
went and got that sheet of paper I spoke of earlier and looked at my list of what I wanted and didn't want. And I said, I'm
Yeah.
still loving music, so I want to do a TV show.
Mm,
And so I said,
mm,
I'm going to do a TV show, and I want it to come on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock, like Soul Train. And
mhm,
so my idea was to do a TV show with just me and my friends sitting around talking about music and what
mhm,
it means to us. I wanted to
mhm.
be very casual. I wanted to be in a living room setting. I didn't want it to be to where if I made a mistake, keep it in. Just keep it in. Let's
Right,
keep going. I
right,
didn't want it to be a perfect show. I just wanted it to be a nice casual conversation. And
right.
I'm going to call it I Remember That Song.
Mhm.
And because again, I'm trying to, at that point, this is 2018, so I'm trying to keep the old school alive and that kind of thing. Everybody's doing hip hop and this new stuff, but nobody's playing old school anymore, especially
Right.
not in the Bay. And so I said, that's what we're going to do. So I got two of my friends are big time DJs in the Bay Area, Russell Gatewood and CJ Flash. They're world famous.
Mhm.
Antoine Davis, who is on KBLX, is a good friend of mine.
Wait a minute. I
Ryan.
think we have a picture,
Oh,
Jerry.
okay.
I
Let's
think we
go.
have a picture of them. Let's
Mhm.
see if we can put it up there.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. Yeah,
All
there's
right.
CJ Flash in the middle. I'm pointing at it like you can see what I'm pointing at.
Right here. CJ.
CJ Flash in the middle, Russell
Mhm.
Gatewood to the right of him. Down below me is Ryan Nicole, a really super talented MC, artist,
Yes.
activist, just a super talented person. Antoine Davis is in the middle. He's at KBLX on the radio. And Tracy Anderson to the far right in the bottom
Mhm.
was in worked with the record labels, worked with Quincy Jones, and did a lot of work with Hammer and has her own Plush Life Media is her social media
Mhm.
marketing kind of company. So all these folks, we got together. And the first time I tried it, I was talking to CJ about this. I said, I got this idea for the show. I think I want to do it. And so I called up a friend of mine that used to work in sales for Kiss FM. So I went even further back, and he now worked at Coffee. Perry Adams is my
Mm.
friend. You know Perry as well.
Yes.
I
Yes.
said, Perry, I said, thanks for taking my call. I got this idea. I want to pitch you guys the show. I want to come on Coffee TV 20. It's going to be great. He says, okay, come on down. So I went and met with him and the program director. And within 10 minutes, he said, okay, we love it. When do you want to start? I'm like, I said, well, let me get back to you because I'm like, I guess I better come up with a show because they
Right.
liked it. So I was talking to CJ a day or two later. I said, and he was playing some music in the background, some music that he had put together, a little mixtape. And I said, who's that song you're playing? And he said, it was so and so and so. I said, well, it sounds like that Miami, like Casey and the Sunshine Band. He said, yeah, it was produced by Casey and the Sunshine Band. And you know who else who co-produced it? He said, no. I said, no. He said, Larry Dunn from Earth, Wind & Fire, because Earth, Wind & Fire is his favorite group. I said,
Mhm.
well, the first concert I ever went to was Earth, Wind & Fire,
Mm.
George Benson and the Emotions. And I stopped and I said, CJ, that's the show.
Right.
That's the show. You play 15 seconds of a song and just see where it takes you. And that's the show. And that's what we do. We have a
Yeah.
different topic each week. I'll stop. I see you're trying to get in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I was going to say is that the group, the team with IRTS Show, they are, if anybody has never like logged in to the IRTS VIP lounge, they're on actually an hour after we finish.
Mhm.
But what I love about it is the knowledge base. It's not like just, yeah, you guys are having fun, but the knowledge around the artist, the music, it is incredible, absolutely incredible. And so, let's not shortchange that. And I'm just gonna tell you, CJ Flash, I could listen to him play music all day,
Mhm.
24/7. He
Yeah.
just needs to have, just nothing but a show with that. But the show itself is dope and it's real. And so you started at Coffee,
Mhm.
and that show, and your show aired on a Saturday. It was a
It aired
Saturday.
on Saturday. They asked me what time I wanted. I said 11 o'clock because of Soul Train. We said, well, during the football season, we'll have college football. You might get preempted. So they offered me 7 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon on Saturday. I said, you know what? I don't even get up at 7 in the morning on Saturday. So let's do it 4 in the afternoon. I know a lot of people will be out running around, but at least
Right.
that'll give me a chance to make some posts and remind them that if you're going to be
Mhm.
gone, set your DVR and watch it. So we were on at 4 o'clock on Saturdays
Mhm.
and did it on Coffee for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then COVID hit. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
That's the
And
next one.
thanks to you, I ended up my show, You Didn't Get the Memo show. Also, I met Perry, got on coffee, and my show aired every Sunday at 2 p.m. And of course, I already being a sports nut, I knew that was the time, but I was like, okay, it's after church, so maybe we get some folks that in there, and the same thing. And the thing that happened with COVID for the both of us, we realized that we needed to reinvent ourselves. We had to look at how are we going to still get this message out and what are we going to do. And I think that that's what you did. And I want to get to it because I'm watching the time. But the one quick question: what is it that makes the I Remember That Song show different?
It's different because my theme is that we play music plus education plus entertainment plus conversation equals fun. So we just try to have fun. When I interview guests, I've got a guest coming on tonight. We'll be on at 7:05 tonight. Right there, you can catch it at that Facebook page. I've got a young lady named Beth who's from Detroit, who same background with Anita Baker, currently sings with Kim and Najee. Her father was one of the members of the original Funk Brothers. She sang on The Voice. She's got all these different things going for her. I tell her people, I said, look, now I just want you to know it's not going to be your basic. So how do you, what's your next move? Who your favorite? We're going to ask those kind of questions, but we're going to play some music, play some of the people that they looked up to, play some of her stuff, and just talk about what's going on, have some fun, be silly, and but get the education and the entertainment value out there as well. So,
Yeah.
and we do that with everybody. Some of the most fun shows we've had are some people that have been in, like Keith Washington was hilarious. Will Downing was hilarious.
Yes.
And, that's not really their image, but they said afterwards that they feel really comfortable and they just kind of let it go.
And I think you even had Brian Culberson on, didn't you?
We had Brian Culberson, was
Brian
amazing. He was a lot of fun.
Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are things, but it's great that people get an opportunity to see these artists in a different light. It's one thing when you're performing, it's another thing when you just chilling. And that's the beauty of, being able to stream live. And like you said, just go with the flow. Just let it flow in terms of, I messed up. Oh, we need to come back in and scratch this out and do something. I'm not doing any of that. We just this is about authenticity, and that's the real deal as it relates to what it is that you guys do. So again, guys, tonight you can actually catch the I Remember That Song show by going to on Facebook, IRTS VIP Lounge, y'all. And they're prompt, they're on time, 7:00. Come on in.
7:05. 7:05.
Yeah, 7:05.
Also on Twitter, and YouTube at IRTS Show. So,
that's right. Oh, okay. So we're going to take another really, 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 really quick break. And when we come back, I want you to get into talking about Purple Cherry Production. Talk about your company, because as an entrepreneur, I think that it's important that people know that you just don't do things right here in the Bay Area. By the way, I don't know if I told people, they probably figured it out. You are here in the Bay Area, but you travel all over. Look, I'm trying to catch one of those Jamaica trips, man. So, so I definitely want us to be able to talk about that. So, guys, thank you for hanging in here. And we did have one comment I wanted to show. Thank you, Miss Wanda from SAC is in the house. Miss Wanda, and
she's
she just
absolutely
said,
right.
She's in radio, and if you have to keep your head on the swivel and a resume in your pocket at all time, and I think that that's great advice. Period, you guys.
That's right.
So you're tuned in to the You Didn't Get the Memo show with me, your host Gloria Bailey Ray, and my dope guest, Mr. Gerry Dove. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching the You Didn't Get the Memo show with your inspirational host, Gloria Bailey Ray. It's your contributions that make this happen. To become a sponsor, send an email to youdidn'tgetthememo@gmail.com. That's the letter U, didn't get the memo. If you're not in a space to be a sponsor, but you like what you hear, we simply ask that you support what you like by making a contribution to the show. There are 3 ways to make an online donation. Visit paypal.me/Gloria Bailey Ray or Cash App or Venmo, Gloria Bailey Ray. Give what you can. Your support is appreciated.
All right, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this time thus far with me and my guest, Mr. Gerry Dove, on the You Didn't Get the Memo show, because he is just awesome. And believe it or not, when you see him on the I Remember That Song show, he's going to be even more animated. So tonight,
Mm.
he's just kind of like, okay,
Oh,
all
am
right.
I?
But
Okay, I'm gonna get I'm gonna give you 10 really goofy minutes here. Let's go.
okay, all right.
Let's go.
So let's start with the talk about Purple Cherry production and exactly what it does.
Well,
So,
Purple Cherry Productions is something I put together about 10 years ago. I would have during all these community events, I have people all the time asking me, so can you get a singer for me? Where I can get a spoken word artist or a band or something like that. And I knew a lot of people in the Bay that did these kind of things. I started to think, well, I may as well try to see if I can get these folks some gigs and get paid a little bit on the side and that kind of thing. And also take some of my promotional side and help them organize these events. So I didn't want to be anybody's manager, but I would help you get events. And so I wanted a name of a company that was something that was going to stand out. There was things, like Led Zeppelin that, you don't even know what it is, but you just remember it. And so I said, well, my first thing was Purple Elephant Productions. And believe it or not, there's a company called Purple Elephant Productions. Then I said, okay, well, Purple Snake Productions. And there's a company called Purple Snake Productions. And then I said, all right, last name is Dove, Purple Dove Productions. There's a little company in Vermont called Purple Dove Productions. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted purple because that's my favorite color to be part of it. Went to do our first event. My wife and I, her name is Sherry, C-H-E. And then my name is Gerry, G-E-R-R-Y. I said, well, there you go. Sherry and Gerry, Cherry. So Purple Cherry Productions. And so I've got a list of different people that I can help you get gigs for. We just gave some performers to help at the San Francisco Mayor's Office Black History Month event that we've done the last few years. Thank you to Deanna Roberts. And in January, we do the big MLK March and Rally that's in San Francisco as well. I provide talent for that, and then throughout the year I get different gigs for different people, and then I add our show to that roster as well, because I try to tell people all the time, you don't need to have an opening band at your chicken dinner or your gala. Have us come up and entertain people from the stage, playing some music. They'll get people coming in from the bar, they'll wonder what's going on in there, and then they'll come in and sit down and play along, and before you know it, you got everybody in. Let's start your show.
right.
So we got a lot. If you need any kind of entertainment for your event, holla at your boy. Maybe I can help you out.
Right. And he definitely has the connect, y'all. So you want to have somebody who has those types of connection and is a professional in every sense of the word. So let's talk about G Dove Designs,
Okay.
because in addition to Purple Cherry production, and by the way, y'all, you need to have more than one stream of income. So, and that's one of the things that I'm loving about this man, is because he got some other things going on. But Gerry, tell us briefly about G Dove Designs. What are the kind of things that you have?
That's one of the first, was my first venture into the world of entrepreneurship. Is that I told you before that one of my ways of looking at life is to make peace and move forward. Put it on a t-shirt, put it on a coffee mug, did that kind of thing. And then when I got to KBLX and started doing more with the Purple Cherry Productions, I decided I want to make shirts that pay tribute to some legends that we've lost. So I got three different designs of shirts there. One is an R&B shirt, so it just simply says Michael, Marvin, Maurice, Whitney, and Prince. It's right up to Prince that passed away. But the thing is, we've seen all these shirts, and I wish I'd sent you pictures so you could see it. But and then my key is that it's that one of the names is always in a color. So Prince is in purple. I got one for comedians. It's Bernie Mac, Robin Williams, just all these different, Robin Harris, and then Red Fox. It's a Red Fox is in red. I got one in jazz for some smooth jazz artists that we've lost, and some traditional jazz. So Al Jarreau is in pink, and then Miles Davis is in blue for his Kind of Blue album. And so you can see all those on the website at IRTSShow.com. There you go. Thank you. Or go to GWDesigns.com, but IRTSShow.com has more, and then coffee mugs and all these kind of things that we got on there as well. So I'm creative. I always get something in my mind that's going to be the next big thing. So I
right.
figure you keep throwing the irons in the fire one of these days. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, you know what? The thing is, if you don't keep moving forward, you're either going to fall behind, or guess what? Nothing ever happens. And so you have to keep it going. And that's one of the things I appreciate. By the way, shout out Margarita. I see you. Holla, girl. So, Gerry, let's say this as an entrepreneur. That's the first question. What would advice would you give people or someone that has an idea, but they're afraid to step out there and to give it a go?
I would say start slow. One of the first mistakes I made when I did the piece and move forward was that I said, I'm not going to have a bunch of t-shirts in my garage, so take a black shirt or a white shirt and start with that. Don't let your friends say, oh, if you had it in a V-neck, I'd buy it. Oh, if you had it in green. Because before I knew it, I had 10 different colors and 5 different styles.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was buying them,
None
So
of it.
so when I went to the shirts with the artist names on it, this shirt comes in black with white letters, and then the artist is a color.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had $1 for everybody who said they were going to buy a shirt, I'd own that studio, that TV studio, and everything right now. So
Yeah, I
start
hear you.
slow, build it up, and just keep. It's hard, it's hard, and just go out to all the festivals and Treasure Island and the flea markets and all this kind of thing, because
Mhm.
people are going to come knocking on your door. You gotta find them and let them know what's
Right.
going on. But start
Mhm.
slow and build your way up and be smart about it with your money.
Okay. So
And save
looking
all your receipts because you can write that stuff off.
that's right. Oh, there you
Start
go.
it, make it a company. Don't make it legit. Make it a legitimate company.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just
Thank you
selling
for
out of the
saying
back
that.
of your car, because then you can write all this stuff off. It's a legitimate company.
Right. Thank you for saying that. And that's
Mhm.
real, Gerry. So if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Um, Save more money. Save more money. I made a lot of money in my life. I've had a good life, had a great time. Don't have near the money I probably should, because I spent it and had a good time. So I've always been blessed that there's always something around the corner and God's got something for me, keeps me moving forward. But save more money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, Gerry, in these last couple of minutes, what is it that you want people who watch the show today to take away? Besides the fact, and I'm going to say this for you because you probably wouldn't, make sure that you guys log on to the IRTS show at 7:05 tonight, y'all, in the
Mm-hmm.
VIP lounge.
There you
But
go.
what is it that you want people to take away from this show? Because they learned some things about Gerry Dove, that they didn't know,
Mhm.
the concierge of the community. But let's talk about that.
Well, tonight's show, again, it's an artist that a lot of people around here probably won't know, because she's from Detroit, and even though she's done some great things, we probably won't know about her like we've interviewed Brian Culbertson and these kind of people. But I think that everybody's story and everybody's journey to where they get and how they got there is fascinating to me. I know as a kid, I used to like to read biographies. I didn't like fiction or nonfiction. I wanted to read biographies. I wanted to see how you got to be who you are, and see what I could learn from what you did, and learn from some things that you did that I shouldn't do, and see how it could work for me. So tonight's show is going to be an interesting one. I want you to listen to what this young lady's got to say. I want you to listen to the direction that she's gone, because I've seen her do some other interviews. She's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So in the coming weeks, we're going to have some people that you probably might be more aware of and things like that. So it's still always good to me to hear other people's journey, and then what we add to it as well is that we have fun and we get things out of people that you generally don't get. And so I think it's worthwhile to spend an hour watching our show, just like it's worthwhile to spend an hour watching You Didn't Get the Memo. I've
Absolutely.
seen many of your shows. I'm honored to be on here.
Well, thank you so very much, and I'm honored to have you. So, Gerry, don't you go anywhere. All right, don't leave me
Okay.
just yet. I'll be right back. I want to say to all of you that are tuned in to the show, first and foremost, I want to thank you so very much, guys, for tuning in. I want to also encourage you to make You Didn't Get the Memo show, a weekly part of what you do every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to thank my guest, Mr. Gerry Dove, for being on the show today. Guys, this brother is real. It is my hope that you have found some information or something that he said to be informational, educational, inspirational to you to help you move forward. I want to remind all of you guys to, hey, be sure and follow me on all of my social media platforms, guys. Be sure and like, follow. You can find me all over. Okay. Now, I want to also just say to you that you're not going to be disappointed. Next week, be sure and tune in. We're going to have a more serious topic. I have got the clinical professor of surgery at UCSF, and we're going to be talking about cancer. And she has an awesome, dope interview, and I want you guys to tune into it. A lot of great information for you to get and to glean from this. I appreciate all of you guys. I really do. I want to thank you so much for your support, for your love. As always, it's been a blast. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I always say this, that if you didn't take anything away from today's show, then it really and truly is you who didn't get the memo. I always want to leave you with this. The quality of your life is determined by the decisions that you make. Guys, have a wonderful rest of the week. Know that you are blessed. Give thanks, stay safe, and always pay it forward. I'm your host, Gloria Bailey Ray. Thank you. Until this time next week, peace out.